everyone! Welcome to I Got Nothing, a podcast for exhausted writers. I am your exhausted writer, Leani Lopez, and I am so excited to have you here with me. Welcome to any new listeners, and welcome again to returning ones. Love you guys. This topic was one I came up with recently, and it's a very important one. I say that about all of them because all of them are important to me because I'm a writer and I love talking about writing. But this one is one I have to work on often because it's the hardest. And I think anyone who has ever shared their writing will agree with me that taking criticism can be very, very difficult. Writing is a personal thing. It is a very, very personal thing. When you write, you're sharing a story. You are sharing a glimpse into your imagination. And that is very personal and that is very scary. Not just when you write, but when you create something and you present that thing to other people, you open yourself up to feedback. And as a writer, as an artist, as a creative, you should always be open to feedback. But when it comes to feedback and criticism, what's very important is to recognize the difference between constructive criticism and destructive criticism. Constructive criticism is very important because it is the way that you grow and learn. If you are not open to any kind of criticism or feedback, then you're never going to grow, you're never going to change as a writer or an artist. It's just not going to happen. You're going to be stuck in your own head, and you're going to be missing a lot of opportunity and potential to make yourself better. So I think opening yourself up to feedback and criticism is a very important part of the creative process. But there is a difference between constructive criticism and destructive. So when I say constructive criticism, I mean something where the reader is like, hey, I thought things were going to focus on X, Y, and Z, or you started talking about this thing, but there was never any conclusion with it. There wasn't any kind of payoff with it. Or your characters are a little inconsistent. They acted this way one chapter, and then the other chapter they acted this way, but there's no connection. You know, things like that. Things that is somebody telling you what they were feeling while they were reading your story. Destructive is exactly how it sounds. It is criticism that's really just meant to hurt your feelings. It is criticism that is unhelpful. I remember having a writing class in college, and I don't exactly remember what the class was. I think it was writing fiction or something like that. Something along those lines. And we would break off into groups. There was 3 or 4 of us in each group. We would share the assignment, give feedback, things like that. And there was a guy in our group who, quite frankly, was an asshole. And when he was giving criticism, it wasn't constructive. He was literally nitpicking. He was saying things just to get a rise out of us, which us in the group only learned towards the end of the semester that he was doing this on purpose because he didn't like how we critiqued him or something like that. Because, you know, we weren't assholes, so we weren't mean about it. I don't know what his problem was. But he was literally giving criticism and critique that didn't help. It didn't make sense. I think one of the pieces I submitted was one of the chapters to my first novel. And it was vampire witchy fantasy. And like his critique on the main character was like, oh, her name is too vampire-y. Like, that doesn't help and that doesn't make any sense. Like, that sort of thing. Like, he was purposely being mean because he was mad that we were too nice. I don't know. Point is, he was an asshole. That was not constructive criticism. That was destructive criticism. Anything that full-on insults you as a writer, like purposely goes after you as a writer, is not helpful. It's not. That doesn't help you. That just makes you very anxious and gives you a lot of self-confidence issues and makes you never want to share your work with anyone. And by you, I mean me. That's happened to me plenty of times, especially when I was younger. And it's so disheartening to put yourself out there to write something and share, and then to just get this like negativity coming back at you. It's really, really difficult. So as a writer, you need to filter through the crap. You need to listen to what's being said and decide if it's helpful or not. And there's a couple ways you can do that. I wish I could tell you it gets easier. I'm about to release my second romance book under my own name. And it's still not easier. I think actually it was easier to release Slip of the Hand because no one knew I was doing it. I was just like, hey, it's out there. Here it is. This is actually kind of building up to a release. And I'm an anxious mess. I have a few arcs out there. I've gotten some feedback, and it's been very constructive and helpful and makes sense. But it's still like your heart just like stops when you see that someone has emailed you back and like the title is like review or something of that nature, and you're just like, oh God, oh God, oh God. And it takes you a little bit to open it. I don't think for me that's ever going to change. My reactions to all of that has definitely changed. I am much more level-headed. Even if there is a knee-jerk reaction of, oh no, somebody hates it, oh God, then I need to kind of like stop and be like, do they really hate it, or is this constructive feedback and you are letting your anxiety take hold? I definitely play the game of, do they really hate it, or do I need to take a nap and come back to it later? Usually it's, I need to take a nap and look at it later. But getting that constructive criticism, getting that feedback is so helpful because you know what your story's supposed to say. You know what your intention is and how you want your characters to come across. The readers interpret all of that. So if they are not interpreting the story how I intended, and it is not just one reader, it's multiple readers, then I need to backtrack. If multiple readers aren't seeing the story the way you intended, then you do need to revisit your narrative. I get this all the time. I ghostwrite romance novels. I've been doing it for about 3 to 4 years now. Don't know the exact amount. It's a lot. I've done many over that time. I work with one particular client, and I've worked with her for a while, so I know her style. I know what she expects, what she's interested in. And I have learned so much in such a short period of time through her constructive criticism. She is amazing at giving constructive feedback. She pairs it with praise, which is always helpful. But she has so much experience in the romance genre, and not just in the genre in general. She has so much writing experience that when she questions something that I did, I don't have this knee-jerk reaction of, oh, she doesn't get it. It's more like, maybe I didn't come across the way I wanted to. For example, a lot of what I write is first-person point of view when I ghostwrite. Personally, I like third person. But ghostwriting, it's usually first person, and you alternate between chapters. So you have the male character one chapter, then female, vice versa, however it goes. When introducing the female character, I was trying to articulate that she is in a tough spot financially and in her life. She's kind of in this job. that she loves, but she doesn't want to do it forever, and she really wants to do this thing, and what have you. But in those first paragraphs, I leaned too much on what she wants and isn't getting. So it actually came across like she was very whiny and complaining, which is definitely not my intention. That is not what I wanted. She's supposed to be a very cheerful character. And even though I was explaining important aspects of the character, I realized in my writing I was relying too much on that, or describing it too much, so then it kind of came across as complaining and she was very unlikable. That's not good. You don't want your main character usually to be unlikable. Sometimes it works, but for the most part, you want your readers to root for them. So my client was like, hey, can we tweak this? Because she's kind of coming across as complaining. And I was like, yeah, totally. I can totally see that, and I will tweak it. And that was very helpful, because in my mind, I was just like, okay, this is what's going on. Readers need this backstory, blah, blah, blah. But I had written so much about the negatives in her life that it just kind of came across that she was complaining. And it didn't work, especially with first person, because all of that is supposed to be in their words. So then, yeah. So I fixed it, and I was able to, hopefully, come across that, yeah, she's going through some tough time, but she's moving through it, and she's got this. She's got this shit. Which is kind of what we were more going for with the character. If you close yourself off to criticism, you won't learn. What's the point of writing a story and sharing it with people if you're not going to grow from it? And you're not going to learn from it? That doesn't seem fun. I want to learn. I want to learn, even if it's something about myself. That's just as important as learning a new factoid or a new way of doing things. If I read a story and I learn something about myself in the process, I'm going to treasure that story way more than a story that was just like really fun and all this stuff, but I didn't really resonate with anything in it. What it boils down to is it's important to know what advice to take and what not to take, which is where that putting it aside, taking a deep breath, or taking a nap, and then coming back to it later helps, because you don't want to make changes based on knee-jerk reactions. I almost did that with a recent story. I got feedback, and I almost was like, oh, fine, I gotta go through and change, and then I stopped myself, and I'm like, no. It is one person. Look at their feedback. See where they're coming from. See if you can address those things with them outside of the story. And if need be, then tweak things in the story before moving on. Don't feel like you immediately have to go in and change everything about your story because of what this one person said. I'm going to say this, not just for you guys, but for myself, because I have had it repeated to me several times in the last week, since this is the month before my book release and I am going a little nuts. But not everyone is going to like your work. It's true. It's a hard pill to swallow. All of us want acceptance. We want our stories and our feelings shared and reciprocated. But not everyone is going to like your writing. They're not going to like your story. And they may post about it. And cool. It is what it is. Just try to remember that not everyone has to like your story. Because for that one person that doesn't, I can guarantee there's at least 3 other people who do. For that one person who didn't really understand what you were trying to convey, there's at least a couple of other people who will get it. And as long as it's the story you wanted to tell and it comes across how you wanted it to come across, then you're good. You're golden. As long as you learn from it, as long as you take it with a grain of salt as long as you figure out whether it's constructive or destructive. You will push past it, and don't give up. Don't let one person ruin it for you. Don't let one person spoil the creative process. I know it's hard. I know it's hard. And I know all of this is easier said than done. Trust me, I've been writing for 20 years. Oh God, over 20 years. Oh God. Yeah, I've been writing for a long ass time. Anyways, I've been writing for a long time. And there have been a number of people who don't like my work, who I'm very excited to share something with, and they're like, oh, okay, and it doesn't resonate with them, and it stings. It sucks. But there's also been other people who message me out of the blue like, oh my God, I just finished this, and X, Y, and Z, and I like this, and oh my God. Just hold on to those people. Cherish those people, but don't only surround yourself with those people, because then you're never gonna grow and learn. And as I said in previous podcasts, the writing process is about learning. And as long as you learn something, as long as you grow from it, you're not gonna fail. Because there's no failure if you've taken something and you've learned something from what you've done. Yeah, so that's what I want to say on that topic. If you're someone who is struggling to continue writing, if you're someone who doesn't know if it's even worth it, I want you to take this as a sign that it is worth it, that it is important for you to keep writing and to keep putting your stories out there and putting yourself out there. It is extremely important. And you're important. So, mwah, there. All right. That's all the time we have for today for this episode of I Got Nothing, a podcast for exhausted writers. This exhausted writer is going to go rest. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, my website, leanilopez.com, Twitter, all that jazz. And if you come up with any ideas or any topics or questions you have that you want me to cover on the podcast, send them my way. All right. Bye, everyone.